Welcome to this week's episode of Does That Make Sense? Amanda, you know how everyone's always talking about their dating disasters?
Absolutely. And people are not only on dating apps, but they're dating on social media. I mean, what's the etiquette there?
I have no idea, but our next guest will help everyone figure it out.
Let's get into it.
Welcome to the show, Andi Lew. Now, you're a television and radio presenter, a certified food, lifestyle and wellness coach, and the author of 8 books. Thanks so much for joining us, Andi.
Thank you, Antoinette and Amanda. I can't believe I'm like one of the first on your show.
It's exciting.
It is.
You have written a book about digital dating. It's called #InstaLovers. It's people's go-to guide on navigating their way through finding love via an app. Can you give us a quick overview? Why does everybody need it?
There wasn't a book about how to navigate your way through the dating world. And I was a newly divorced woman in her 40s. And I think it's really important for people who came out of marriages or just being single for like EVs. The time that I released it, it was so needed. It's about how to have safe interactions, but also just remember how, you know, you can have really connected times. Even though it's on an app, it can still be a really connected time and you can find love.
Obviously, there was a lot of research that went into writing the book. How long did it take and did that involve?
Oh, research in inverted commas. That was the fun part. Girls, I started researching human behaviour, social culture. I found a lot of people were sort of just healing or broken or genuinely wanting a relationship. And, you know, in fairness, if somebody really did want to hook up, I mean, there were people in open relationships as well, which I found very interesting. You know, I matched with all these people and I didn't really date anyone. I was just kind of having chats with them and they were like, are you really writing a book? You know, because I told them I was just researching. And they said, that is such a great line. I'm going to use that line as well. I said, no, I'm really writing the book. They said, well, can we go on a date so I can actually be in your book? And I said, well, honey, you already are. I've been screenshotting all the conversations.
That's hilarious.
So, Andi, my question is, where do you think we are with the stigma now with online dating? Are we still got a stigma or is that gone? Or is it just for maybe certain age groups or where do you think we're at with it?
Good question, Amanda, because I'm all about removing stigmas everywhere. I'm not into ageism with relationships, remove stigma in our in anything, in how we want to practice our health, in how we want to practice our religion, in what we want to eat, whatever makes us happy, stigma around how we want to meet someone. You know, life's so short. Let's just do what makes your soul happy. Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like goosebumps. I mean, it's just, you know, how do we know if we really have tomorrow? And did you really live if you were being your true, authentic self? So definitely removing stigma around meeting people on an app is super important.
I read an article last year and it was really convincing because it said you wouldn't hop in a car without like Google Apps or without a navigator. So why would you try and date without some type of technology to help you? And I remember it was the best article that I'd read that sort of was quite convincing in the sense that, yeah, that just makes sense. Like, you know, you can't imagine hopping in the car without Google Maps or something navigating you. So why wouldn't you have something navigating your love life? So
it's really interesting, and times are certainly changing because I think the average user has 3 dating apps at a time. That's what the statistics are showing.
Wow.
That's interesting to know.
Yeah.
Well, that brings me to my next question. So if I'm on Tinder or Hinge or any of the dating apps, I feel like I've put a sign out the front of my shop saying open for business. And if I'm on like Instagram or Facebook, I feel like that's for a whole different other reason. I might be doing it for business reasons. I might be doing it for personal, just connecting with friends. So when someone sends me a DM, I'm almost like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Now, have I got this wrong? Have I got this wrong? Am I meant to be embracing this more? But I've got this sort of thing like, hold on, I'm not on Tinder right now. My shop is not open for business. Like, what's going on?
What time are they sliding into your DMs, Amanda?
Oh, all day and night. I sound like I'm really popular.
This is hilarious.
I sound like I'm really popular, but I'm sure I'm not. But I do get this quite frequently, especially on Facebook, on Messenger. And quite, I'm like, what's going on here? Like quite a lot of banter. I sort of check myself. No, I'm not on Tinder right now. What's going on? So
it's interesting. No, I think they are sliding into your DMs all day and every night because we've been in lockup for so long. And I think, people are desperate to meet, and there's nothing wrong with that because it's so healthy to be social and connect, and why not? But, when I first wrote the book, there's a chapter in there talking about how they actually come out of the woodwork from 9 p.m. I find that a lot of single people just want to have someone to talk to help them fall asleep. And if you've had a quiet day, they've been at work, they've done their gym, they've gone shopping or dinner or whatever, and then they're kind of getting ready for bed, and all of a sudden the DMs at 9 p.m, they all come out of the woodwork.
Right. So, I think I had morning ones, even morning DMs. Like I swear, it's strange. They seem to come in like waves. Like all of a sudden you get a few and you're like, here you go.
So if people are sliding into your DMs on social media, so they're not full-fledged dating apps, is there an etiquette that people need to adhere to? So they're not approaching you or they're not DMing you on Facebook as they would on, say, Tinder.
I think the same rules always apply. And, when you're putting yourself to market, on Instagram and Facebook too, because you're showing the world how you want them to perceive you there. So it doesn't matter whether it's on a dating app or Facebook. There's the stigma that needs to be removed. I was talking to an American producer friend of mine. He wanted to create a show because he was saying it's interesting. You might think that you want to hook up and then that turns into the love of your life. Yeah. And then you might just think, I want to have a relationship. And you'll end up going, actually, no, I just want to have a hookup with you. Here's the thing. I need to remind you that just because you matched doesn't mean you're getting married, or just because someone's sliding into your DM doesn't mean you're going on a date. Let's take it back a notch. This is where the slow dating movement comes back in, where we've done this speed dating swipe life, and then we go into this, oh my God, we're matched. And, the psychology behind when you do get a match on a dating app is like, boom, you matched. And you get this surge of oxytocin and serotonin, and you think to yourself, I've won, I've hit jackpot. And some people get a bit despo and they're like, well, how come we're not going on a date? Or you've got to enjoy that journey just a little bit. But there's a fine line. Right. Here's where the etiquette comes into, a fine line between going, you know what, I might not actually meet up with you. And then we've been chatting for a week or a month and this is never going to happen. We're never going to meet. You have to transfer that into eventually a phone call or a video call. If you don't do that, you're having an online relationship with a pretend illusion, a person that you think is this person in your head, but you haven't heard them speak or you haven't seen them. You might not like the tone of their voice. And that's okay. You have to pick up the phone, and just get a little bit more and then decide from that moment whether it's worthwhile meeting up. So this is where you also have to remove the stigma and expectations and enjoy the journey is what I was trying to say in the previous question. Because how long's a piece of string? How do you know? I mean, this is where we have to slow it right down again and just get to know that person and remind yourself that because it's on a dating app isn't any different. It's just another way of getting to know somebody or being able to fill up your ways of finding people. You might meet them in the shopping center, at the gym, or along the beach, or while you're running, or whatever it is. And dating apps are just another way. It doesn't mean that just because you met on a dating app means that you have to date. You can still take your time. I mean, perfect example, when I was researching before the book was released, I did actually like this one particular gentleman, and he was from Sweden, and he sort of new to the area where I lived, and I was like, oh, he had a few too many selfies. I don't know if that was sort of an orange flag. Anyway, this guy, I was like, oh, I'm just done with you. I'm just going to delete you from the app, but I'll follow you on Instagram. And I'd forgotten that I'd followed him on Instagram. So a month later, he uploaded a beautiful photo of this beach boardwalk or whatever, and it had a sunset. And I was like, oh, I love sunsets. That's right near where I live. And so I reached out to him and I was like, oh, wow, I live near there. And I also love going for walks on sunset. So next time you go for a walk, let me know. I'll come with you. We met up for the first time that way. And it was like love at first sight. I ended up having a relationship with him until he had to go back to Sweden. But there's a perfect example of going, you know what? I met that guy, put him in the back of my mind. When he appears again and when the timing's right and if it's in flow, that's just when the magic happens, you know?
Yeah.
Take the pressure off, remove the expectation and let life happen.
Yeah.
So I have a question. What's an orange flag? Because you just said orange flag. So what's an orange flag? Give us some real examples of orange flags.
Oh, my gosh. There's yellow flags, there's orange flags, and then there's bright red.
Tell us the lot. And then do you get a checkered flag when it's all good? Like,
oh, yeah, baby. So why not? All of them. And so, but you've got to be aware of those signs and signals because, you know, if it's not feeling right, I always say if it smells like it and it looks like it, it's usually it. So just move on because there's too many other people that you can match with. Don't waste your time with people that are giving you mixed signals and also not being transparent. So the first thing I like to do is get to know them on other social media apps. Now, a lot of men will say, oh, I don't have social media. I've just got this dating app. Oh, come on, mate. Pull the other one. So everyone's got LinkedIn. If they don't have Facebook, they've got Instagram, there's LinkedIn, there's something. Otherwise, I say, what's your business? Let me Google you, you know? And then I usually say, oh, I hope you don't mind. You know, you've got to say it in a playful way too, but is it okay if I check you out on another social media app? Now, if you're a woman and you want to protect yourself and be careful or safe, of course a gentleman's going to go, yeah, sure, here you go. But if they don't want to give it up, then they might be hiding something. It could be a bit of a catfish scenario. But keep in mind, it's not a hard and fast rule either. Maybe men are also protecting themselves and their identity because there can be some crazy women out there too. But the good thing is that some apps are actually you can already verify yourself through a Facebook or an Instagram or something like that. So it's really important to see, and it's great to see those apps evolving and allowing verification to occur. And it's not just about, you know, how you weed out the weirdos or notice if there's a fake profile or not, but it's also about seeing how they enjoy interacting with the rest of the world. So when I go on to, say, Instagram, I'll look underneath and see how they respond to people in the comments. Or perhaps you don't want to be with someone who's shorter than you and you'll see the height comparison or, you know, if their bio isn't saying, whatever's important to you, you can observe a lot through the app, you know.
What I was going to ask is I'll preface this by saying lately I've been obsessively watching 90 Day Fiancé. I don't know if you've ever watched that show, but it's like
I love it.
It's an American show and it's like these people have got like they meet someone overseas and they've got 90 days on a K1 visa to sort of marry them. And there was a guy on there that was dating someone from the Ukraine. They had never met them. He just paid $100,000 to be on this particular dating site. And he started when he was 53 and he was now 60 and he was still doing it. And I was like, oh my God, I know. and like everyone's trying to tell him, he's like, no, but you know, I'm really in love and I'm going to meet her this time. And then she hasn't turned up 3 times. Okay, clearly this guy has left it too long.
As long as he's enjoying himself in that journey.
I guess that's true. That's the way to look at it. But I was going to say, how long would you give it? Like, if you're not enjoying it, I guess those sort of things play into it as well. So
only that person can decide that for themselves, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, and it's important to have breaks from things too. I think it's healthy because what can happen with any app is that there's an addiction. So not just dating apps, just apps in general. We do get addicted to technology. I wrote about that in my 5th book, actually, Wellness Loading, Disconnect to Reconnect. You know, it's important to understand that you need to have breaks and just get out there and have real life experiences too, whether it's about dating or anything. Sometimes, you know, you can put your dating app and not just like turn it off, but you can mute it for a while and then go back to it again. But, you know, flirting is so healthy. So, you know, if you're enjoying yourself and you're flirting around and, you know, that's great. That decreases the stress hormones, which is what we're all going through at the moment, and increases the serotonin, the oxytocin, the feel-good hormones to have a good flirt and a laugh. So if that person's enjoying it, then as long as when it's not fun, then that's when it's over, you know, when it stops being fun. You've got to make sure you're having fun.
Yeah, that makes sense.
With digital dating, what are some of the big do's and don'ts? So is it, for instance, lying about your age or putting up a photo of you that was from 30 years ago. With how you present yourself, what are the do's and don'ts?
Well, a lot of men do write on their profiles, no filters, please, because they do get disappointed when the women turn up and they don't look anything like their photos. And yeah. And I think being authentic in general encompasses everything that you just spoke about, Antoinette. You know, the next thing to do is be fun. You know, if you're not ready, if you're feeling bitter about the breakup or you're just not feeling whatever, don't get on. You know, it's about having fun. Number 3, you know, be really mindful of, I guess, you know, how much time it's taking, and if it's just dragging on and you're not going to meet that person, or they're not going to pick up the phone to, you know, meet, you know, on a video call or hear each other. And I think it's so important to see if you do have chemistry by doing those things first. You could have a non-negotiable that you just didn't even realize. I remember calling a guy and he had a really high-pitched voice, and it was such a shame because he was just such a cool guy, but I just couldn't listen to that voice.
What about people that overshare too much and over-contact somebody? Is oversharing just a big turn-off at the beginning?
You know it is, girl. You know, you remember flirting is banter, it's fun, it's light. Start to share those deeper issues on like the 3rd date, something like that. You know, when you feel safe. Remember, you don't know who this person really is. Once again, you feel like you've connected because you've seen photos and a little bit of their life, but you don't really know who it is. And at the same time, it just kills desire, you know, sharing too much. Go talk to your therapist about it.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
But the other thing too, you've got to be careful not to let your grip slip. When you've got someone that's really keen and interested, or they're feeling the same about you, keep your cool, keep your autonomy, like still have your own life, you know, like don't lose yourself in the illusion of who you think that person's going to be for you. That's really dangerous. And what can tend to happen is, this is the other red flag, you start to double dip, double text, to triple text. Yeah. And like, you know, even a guy will do it when a girl's lost interest, and or vice versa. It's like, hello, are you still there? Good chat. You know, don't lose your cool, you know, just wait until that person responds. If they don't, then that's okay. Move on to the next one.
And what's meant to be is meant to be. So it's sort of sometimes about the perfect timing will just sort of happen.
And they might come around if it's meant to be, but not if you keep triple texting and turn into a crazy person.
Oh, no.
So you talk a lot about marketing yourself in the book. Tell us a little bit more about that. How can you market yourself? What's your tips, basically?
What I mean about marketing yourself when I write about it in the book is being aware of what message you're putting out there when you're putting yourself on
your personal brand as such. Like, that's what I've often thought. I feel like when I've been on apps, I'm like, you need a better brand. Like,
I know. Some of the things that I've seen, Auntie, I just look at and I think, really? Like, do you really think that's what people want to see?
I've seen a lot of, I don't do the really, but I do the why. Why though? But why?
Yours is more gentle than yours.
I know.
Antoinette's ruthless.
Look, here's the thing. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty tips for everybody. First of all, when you're doing your profile photos, not too many selfies because it looks selfish or lonely or weird and narcissistic. Maybe just one if you really thought you looked cute. The rest of them need to be doing something that you love, or getting someone to take a picture of you that's nice, because the big no-no is doing it from this angle down here where it's like just right down the bottom and you've got the double chin going on.
Yes.
So you've got to be really careful about angles. Also, don't do angles from above where it just looks so narcissistic. It doesn't look real. You just want to look real. Unless you're a comedian and you want people to laugh at all that and you want to, that's your thing, you know, then you're being authentic. But be aware of angles, be aware of lighting that's favorable for you, because otherwise you get bags under your eyes. Guys do it all the time. They don't realize the lighting is just not in their favor, and they could be really, really gorgeous if they just let the sunlight hit them in a different way. But the main thing about that is no filters, you know, be authentic. And also in your bio, now these bios are asking for a lot more detail. So in your bio, if you've got some non-negotiables, make sure you're ticking all of that, because then it helps you to find a person that you will really resonate with. So that's really important. And then when it says to ask a little bit about yourself, which is what I love in Hinge, you can leave a comment there instead of just a swiping. You can actually either comment on the photo or click a love heart on the photo. And some people are writing some really cute things. Like I know a guy who wanted to make himself useful. So he said, I'm really good at putting IKEA furniture together.
Oh.
So a lot of
I'm sold straight away. That is my perfect match.
So I think that's cute.
Yeah. How good is that? See, he's got an icebreaker there. He's making himself useful.
Yes.
And yes, it's unique. And there you go. He was a good catch.
I want to know about like the little codes and acronyms and emojis that people are using. What we know some of the sort of obvious ones, but what are some that you may not know? Like there's those numbers that mean you smoke marijuana. Is that 431 or something like that? Or, you know.
Is it? What?
Yes.
I didn't even know that. I've never had drugs in my life. I didn't know it. Like, I need to learn these things.
I looked it up because I saw it. Someone put it up and I thought, what does those numbers mean? And I don't remember. I could have the numbers wrong, but it was something like 431 or something like that.
It's
and I'm
probably
like,
just his number of his house.
no, I saw it enough times to go, you know, I'm usually like, okay, this means something, I think.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, look, I mean, emoji use is changing all the time because they're updating emojis too. But the main thing, the takeaway about this is to have fun with emojis. And emojis actually give emotion. And it's really important to show emotion in your, conversations, because now we're talking, you can hear tonality, timing. That's giving it, the context with which where something's a joke or where it isn't. I know a lot of people get offended in text because they're misconstrued, and it'd be like straight away somebody will get really narky and say, oh, excuse me. And they're very sensitive when they're having their first couple of conversations and getting to know each other. So I think it's really important to use emojis. Like if you're going to say something and it's supposed to be tongue in cheek, do the emoji with the winking face and a tongue hanging out, and then that way you can see with which, emotion you meant that in. So yeah, use emojis a lot. There's a whole chapter in my book about how to use emojis to get tonality in there and what you really are trying to say. And that can be fun too. Just be aware of all the emojis that are a bit of a yellow or red flag too. So there might be the eggplant one or the peach stuff. I think save that for when you're in a relationship.
Red flags when it comes to meeting new people. We briefly spoke about it before, but are there really big red flags?
It's really important to say let's say you've seen their Instagram, right? I have noticed in my research that people can also make up a fake Instagram page.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the way in which I discovered this was that if they too freely, if the person looks like an absolute model, and I wrote about this in my book, he was this absolute model, but two of his photos look quite different. Like he had green eyes in one and brown in the other. He was also biting his bottom lip, like this model pose that only a guy who's a model knows how to make look hot. I said, oh, are you a model? No, my friend just helped me out with this photo. That was a yellow flag. Right. Okay, cool. Did your friend know about good lighting too? Oh, no, it was just in the daytime by the window. Orange flag. Okay, cool. No worries. Do you want to show me your other social media? So you can find, if you know it's a fake Instagram account, that what they've done is to plagiarize and pretend to be this other person that perhaps was a model, and they've taken all their model photos. You have a look at the dates when they were uploaded, because they'll all be in September. From September the 1st until September the 7th, they've uploaded 40 photos.
Wow, okay, good tip.
It's impossible. That's the biggest red flag. And then look underneath, there'll be no comments. If that was a real person, they would have organic comments underneath, or they would, over a period of 40 weeks or 20 weeks, they would have had those 40 photos uploaded. But if they're all uploaded in 2 days, they created that freaking profile to pretend that they weren't a fake person, so that they could hook you in even freaking further. So do not send stuff to fake profiles. And then if you are feeling like it's a bit fake, just do a video call from the app. Don't give out your phone number. Yeah.
And what about ghosting? So you're having a really good banter with someone, you're getting along really well, you're communicating, and then all of a sudden they've disappeared. And you're like, what the hell? What's ghosting? What is it and why do people do it?
Ghosting is when they're not there anymore.
Exactly that.
So, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you know what? Ghosting doesn't just happen with dating. It happens in friendships. It happens in business all the time. It's not a new thing. And it's actually a theme in my new book that I'm currently writing. So I think it's so important to heal from ghosting, to stop ghosting, to understand it, and to know how to deal with it. Because once again, if you feel like you've had a relationship for a period of time, or you've gone on a date with someone and, you know, you're only interacting on the dating app and you haven't actually exchanged real phone numbers, then ghosting after a date can be really hurtful. So I think get the phone number from the person so at least you can try and have a bit of a conversation if possible. But I think the other thing is to accept the fact that not everybody likes communication. They're not as evolved and they can't handle confrontation or just feel bad. And, you know, as much as I'm writing this book to help people navigate their way through that, it's really important to understand that it's not you. It's just a reflection of where they're at in their life.
Can you talk a little bit about catfishing? I mean, you already did talk about it.
It's based off an MTV show where people are fake profiles or just refusing to meet through their own sort of self-worth issues and things like that. So they create these fake profiles to interact and technically have a relationship with a person for a very long period of time. Catfish then is a show that brings those people together to sort of finally meet and work it out. Sometimes they really are those people and they end up in, you know, a beautiful interaction, and sometimes they just reveal the truth and they try to heal the person to stop them from ever doing that again. But I don't think this is really happening as much anymore because you can just freaking pick up the phone and video call. It's as quick as that. But when here's the yellow flag, when somebody starts going, oh, my video function isn't working, or there's always an excuse. It's like, mate, see you later. I don't have time for this. Do you know what I mean? There's always a way. So I think catfishing is starting to phase out because we're getting too smart.
And Andi, what's your opinion on, you know, post-COVID dating? You know, do you think people are looking for more meaning? Because you see people are looking for more meaning in a lot of ways. How do you think it's going to impact dating in general?
I think COVID made us more of who we already were.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And there's only a few that have sort of ascended, if you like, to really become better versions of themselves through hardship. And I think if you're going to sink or swim and you are drowning, most of the time you will swim hard and you will ascend. But there are just going to be those handful who will just go, oh, I don't even care. You've got to be mindful of those if that's not what you want in your psyche, in your, you know, space. I think the silver lining of COVID is that we now understand what matters most, how much time we really do have, how mindful we need to be of others, you know, and COVID forced us to heal our generational traumas, to really move forward and be healthier than we've ever been before. So certainly moving forward, you know, post-COVID and dating, I am in the hope that people are looking for more meaningful connections. And I can see it in how men are starting to communicate better. Yeah. And women's self-worth is rising as well. What do you think, girl?
Oh, I think definitely people are looking for more meaning. I think it's
I think it's definitely changed.
I think that also people there's either people in relationships and wanting to get out. I think there will also be people that have spent a lot of time on their own that are really going, well, you know what, I think I really want a relationship now. So they've sort of seen,
exactly,
you know, they've missed out in a way.
It's a reflection. Hashtag InstaLovers is clearly a must-read for anyone in the dating scene or entering the dating scene.
It's a great summer read. Just you can lie around with it and just have a fun time. Or I'll sign it for you. It's 75% off at the moment. So andilew.com, ANDILEW.
And Andi, we'll include all of the links to your website and all of your social pages on the episode details as well. Thanks for coming on the show, Andi.
Thank you so much.
I've loved laughing with you girls.